Welcome back to episode 3 of When the Mask Falls, the podcast where we take off the mask of perfection and talk honestly about living with anxiety, depression, ADHD, and rejection sensitivity while trying to lead, grow, and just get through everyday life. I'm Christina, and here the mask comes off. When people hear ADHD, they often picture a hyperactive kid bouncing off the walls. Not a mother, not a leader, definitely not a CFO, juggling 4 nonprofits, a rescue, Rotary, and everything else that makes up a full chaotic life. Although the need to be a part of so much kind of does make sense, right? But ADHD in adulthood, it's much more complex. It's distraction, yes, but it's also hyperfocus. Losing track of hours in a project that wasn't even supposed to matter that much. It's forgetting, not because I don't care, but because my brain literally drops information the moment that it's not in front of me. If I don't write it down or put it on my calendar, it didn't happen or it won't exist. It's impulsivity, blurting things out in conversations, signing up for far too many projects, or spending money that I shouldn't. One thing my daughter always gets mad at me for is interrupting her. This happens with everyone, and I have to try really, really hard to bite my tongue not to do it. What people don't realize in conversations is if before you say your next thought, I've already come up with the rest of your sentence and what you were planning to say next. It sometimes comes off as rude, but it's so innocent and definitely not intentional. Sometimes impulsivity is shopping sprees or a quick decision that feels good in the moment but leaves me dealing with regret later. And it's emotional dysregulation where a tiny setback feels like a mountain sliding down on top of me. From the outside, ADHD can look like laziness, like disorganization, like carelessness. But the truth is, it's not laziness at all. It's not a lack of care. It's a brain running on a completely different operating system. You see, I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until just a couple of years ago. For most of my life, I thought I was just scatterbrained, forgetful, not disciplined enough, and honestly, the people that were around me reinforced that. I can't tell you how many times I was called ditzy or how often I heard, "You've always got your head in the clouds." And I just laughed it off because what else would you do? I was an airhead, but inside it chipped away. I carried this quiet shame, believing I was failing at things that other people managed so easily, staying organized, finishing tasks, keeping up with deadlines. I still often feel this way to this day. When I finally got the diagnosis, it was like a light bulb just went on. Suddenly, all the struggles I carried weren't about me being lazy or incapable. They were about my brain working differently. And man, did everything make sense once I was diagnosed. The half-finished projects, the time blindness, the emotional roller coasters, the endless guilt. I had it all the time. That moment gave me relief, but it also made me grieve a little. Relief that I wasn't broken, but grief that I had spent decades internalizing labels like being a ditz and always having my head in the clouds when the truth was oh so different. That's part of why I'm doing this podcast, because so many people are walking around with undiagnosed ADHD, carrying shame that they don't deserve. And if my story can make even one person feel less alone, I think it's worth telling. One of my best ADHD stories since my diagnosis is an agenda. Just a simple agenda, right? When I first started counseling a couple of years ago to help manage my ADHD, my counselor asked me, "Christina, how many agendas and calendars do you have?" I proudly said 6 and giggled. One wall calendar that I think is pretty and has nice scripture verses. One flip calendar that has inspirational quotes, a desk calendar so that I can physically see what I have coming up, an agenda that I carry to make sure I have everything organized and can take notes in when I need to, and 2 calendars on my phone, one for work and one for personal. He shook his head laughing at me, and he said, "Your first assignment is to get down to 2 calendars." I made it to 3. I sat down with the goal of making a clear, color-coordinated calendar on my work email that could host personal appointments as well as private blocks. Straightforward it should have been, right? Done in 15 minutes. But the second I opened my laptop, my brain went, I should check my email. Wait, what compliance is due next? Does our bank account have enough cash for payday? Wait, shoot. Let me get these compliance dates added to my calendar. Oh, that's right. I was adding my appointments. Maybe I should add colors to this calendar to color coordinate everything. 2 hours later, I had a beautiful magazine-worthy color-coded calendar, but half of the content and appointments were missing, and I had to go back and do it all again. That's ADHD. It's not a lack of caring, but a brain hijacked by what feels interesting in the moment while the actual goal slips further away. As Rotary president, ADHD often shows up in the form of time blindness for me. I'll think I have plenty of time before the meeting, and then suddenly, here we are, 5 minutes before I have to leave, and I haven't even prepared the agenda. Or I'll think, for work, this report will take me 10 minutes, and 2 hours later, I'm still tweaking QuickBooks entries and rewording a single sentence. ADHD makes me feel like it doesn't exist until it's too late. It's either now or not now. There is no in between. If I don't have a set timeline when someone needs something from me, that task goes off out into oblivion. And that guilt, it eats at me because leadership is supposed to mean consistency, preparation, and follow through. But ADHD consistently makes me feel like I'm falling short, even when in reality, I'm just wired differently. Then we talk about our rescue. The rescue is such a blessing, but it's also where my ADHD shows itself loudest and clearest. One request from my daughter to save some cats from an overpopulated apartment where cats were being neglected, starving, flea-infested, and dying turned into, hey, I've got a great idea. Let's start a registered rescue. A plan that I thought in my head we had started together, but she has ultimately made it very clear and reminded me that what this once again was my impulsiveness. So yeah, that's on me. Object permanence is a big one. If I don't see it, I forget it even exists. I try very hard to always keep up on my emails and messages from people. I absolutely hate speaking on the phone. That kind of goes with the whole social anxiety thing. I get nervous and accidentally start talking over the person. My organized disorganization causes me to lose entire folders only to find them sitting on the counter, table, or desk, which I've probably walked by about 10 times. And ADHD does not care how important something is. If it's out of sight, it is out of mind. And that can make me look careless, which in truth, I care more than I can even explain. When it comes to relationships, ADHD doesn't just impact work and leadership. It impacts all of it across the board. Sometimes my brain drifts mid-conversation, not because I don't care, but because it switches tracks without my permission. Other times, I blurt out thoughts because if I don't, they'll vanish. And then there's rejection sensitivity. Something as small as a canceled plan can spiral me into they don't like me, I'm just not good enough. I'll get that heavy feeling like someone does not want to be around me. But there's a bit of a contradiction there. Internally, I'm also relieved because the plans are canceled. Because as much as I love people, sometimes the exhaustion of masking, overthinking, and just being on makes me crave the quiet. So it's this confusing mix of hurt and relief, both happening at the same time. That sensitivity has made me quite clingy at times, wanting reassurance, needing proof that I'm not about to be left behind, but it's also made me shut down. I've built walls because I'm terrified of being hurt again. Truth is, the real, raw truth, I haven't dated in 14 years. Some of that was intentional because I wanted to protect my daughter. I didn't want different men in and out of her life. She deserved that stability. But underneath that choice was also fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of being rejected, fear of being abandoned all over again. So I focused on the one thing I could control, me. I poured all of my energy into furthering my education, building my career, and creating a life for us that felt solid and safe. Honestly, I could talk on multiple podcasts about how ADHD has affected my romantic relationships, even before I was diagnosed, but we'll save that for another day. But ADHD doesn't just affect romance. It touches friendships, family, and work too. I often feel like I suck as a friend because I don't check in often enough. It's not that I don't care, it's that I forgot. I'll think of someone, plan to text or call them, and then never actually follow through. A couple of my close friends and I have touch lamps, and honestly, they're one of the best things ever for someone with ADHD. When their lamp lights up, I know they're there, and with one touch, I can let them know that I'm thinking of them too. I have another friend who just recently had a baby, and I had every intention of being there for her, visiting often, showing up in those early weeks. And here we are 2 months later, and I've only seen her and the baby twice. The guilt literally eats at me, but I'm so grateful she's a tell it like it is friend, because if she wasn't, I wouldn't have realized how much it was hurting her that I wasn't talking to her as often as I should be, or being there for her. Another interesting thing about relationships is I'm a giver. I love giving. I love doing for others. That part comes naturally to me. But the part that I struggle with most is the reciprocation. Not because I don't want to accept it, but because ADHD makes it very hard compared to what people realize. Reciprocation requires remembering details, keeping track of timing, organizing those follow-ups, and executing steps in the right order. And those are exactly the areas where ADHD makes life messy. I might think about returning the favor, writing that thank you note, or planning something in return, but unless I do it right away, it completely slips my mind. So then I end up carrying that guilt because inside I know how much I care, but from the outside it can look like I've completely dropped the ball, and that's the painful part. It's never about lack of love or gratitude. It's about a brain that doesn't always let me express it in the way that I intend. And then there's family. As far as family relationships go, I swear I am my father's daughter, not only biologically, but in every single way. We are literally one and the same. He's not diagnosed, but I'm pretty confident he also has ADHD, or at least something close to it. Sorry, Dad, you're as crazy as I am, and I had to have gotten it from somewhere. But I'm so grateful for him because he gets me. He knows there are good days and bad days, and he never leaves my side. He makes sure I know how loved I am, and even when he doesn't agree with my decisions or when I won't let him help me because of my stubborn independence, he's always there, always steady, always reminding me that no matter what is going on in my brain, I am not alone. Then there's my brother. We're 8 years apart and complete opposites. He's level-headed, kind, humorous, and loved by everyone. He has always been my rock, but I often feel like I fail him as a sister. He lives further away and I suck at checking in. I'll think of him, then forget, and remember again at the weirdest times, like when it's way too late to call. But deep down, I'm pretty sure he knows I love him, and I know he loves me. Even when ADHD makes me feel like I'm falling short and showing it, that bond is unshakable. And then there's my daughter. People say my dad and I are alike, but my daughter and I, we are twins. It's actually quite scary sometimes how much we mirror each other. We both got our ADHD diagnosis around the same time, and I'll never forget how we just laughed and laughed because suddenly all the puzzle pieces fit together. It's funny because I was not originally looking for a diagnosis. I was sitting with her at one of her appointments when her counselor was doing the test and just started giggling at all of the answers that we had similar. And the counselor had suggested, you might want to get tested as well. So here we are. We know we both have it. We feed off of each other's energy. We are so close, and I'm beyond grateful for our relationship. We have that bond where we could be out traveling together or just sitting in her room on our phones laughing and sending each other reels. God definitely knew that I needed that girl to survive the life I was given and the life I had to face over the years. She is my entire world. It explained so much for both of us, though. The quirks, the struggles, the frustrations, the hyperfocus, and the forgetfulness. It wasn't just random. It was a pattern. And while some people might see that as negative, to me, it's a blessing. Because now we get to understand each other in ways we never could before. And we get to navigate this journey side by side. Lastly, a little bit about coworker relationships. No matter where I've worked, I've always ended up getting close with my coworkers. I genuinely care about them and want them to grow and be the best versions of themselves they can be. I empathize with them when they struggle, and I celebrate with them when they win. I honestly cannot remember a job I've left without making at least one real connection. And while ADHD sometimes makes me feel scattered or inconsistent, it also makes me deeply relational. I notice people, I feel with them, and I invest in them. That's something I wouldn't trade for the world. One of the most painful lies about ADHD is that we're lazy. But laziness is a choice, and ADHD isn't. Have you ever heard of ADHD paralysis? It's a very real thing. There are many days I come home to a dirty house. My brain is listing all the tasks that I didn't finish at work, all the housework that needs to be done, and all the other stuff that I either want to do or need to do on the side. And all I can do is crash on the couch or go straight to bed and wind up doom scrolling on Facebook or Instagram. And then hours later, I'm just laying there totally regretting that decision. There's nothing lazy about spinning your wheels all day and ending up with half-finished tasks. Nothing lazy about caring so much it hurts and still forgetting the thing you meant to do. Nothing lazy about being motivated but lacking the wiring to consistently act on it. And there's absolutely nothing lazy about impulsive spending or decisions that later keep you up at night. They're not carelessness. They're symptoms of a brain wired for urgency, not consistency. ADHD is not lazy. It's exhausting. And the truth, people with ADHD aren't lazy. They're resilient. So what helps me through it? What kind of coping tools have I been giving, and what tools are suggested for you? With my counselor, one of the silly things that he told me to do was Post-it notes. If there's something I needed to do, no matter how simple it was, he told me to write a Post-it note and put it where that task needed to be done. Even the simplest tasks. And I'm going to get real raw here and a little personal because I don't like wearing PJs to bed. I know it's gross. I wear my day clothes to bed because I can't focus to do laundry and I don't want to have extra loads with PJs. But to him, it was important that I get into that routine to put PJs on before bed so that I could get a good night's sleep. So yes, I wrote, put your PJs on before bed, and stuck it on the drawer that had my PJs in it. And it worked. Like, I would check off every Post-it note in my house to make sure I was doing those tasks, whether they were big or small. And then you take the Post-it off for the day and it's a task completed. If I needed to take the trash out, post it. If I needed to take something out of the fridge for dinner, post it. Simple everyday tasks needed that extra step. As embarrassing as it is to admit, I'm afraid I've fallen back into this place where I'm going to need my Post-its again for motivation. Another thing to try is breaking tasks into tiny steps. While I know and can tell you firsthand this does work, I am the absolute worst at this because I feel like any tasks that need to be done all have to be done at the same time. But I am slowly learning and slowly getting better, so we can do this together on this journey, breaking tasks into tinier steps. Another thing I haven't tried yet is timers. They say to use timers so that you don't get lost in hyperfocus. I haven't tried this yet, but I'm willing to if you do. The next thing is an accountability buddy. My counselor was an amazing accountability buddy. Sadly, he passed away last year, but he was definitely a godsend to me, and I'm so blessed to have had the opportunity to work with him and get to know him. Another option is short lists, never long ones, which, again, I always have to fit everything together to try to get it done, but I definitely agree with doing this one. My problem with doing short lists is that then it creates like 10 lists, and then I have lists of the lists that I need to get done, so then there's lists of lists of lists. It's too much for me. And lastly, body doubling, working along someone else. This helps me so much because I really need that extra person there, and my person for that is definitely my daughter. I just recently had to do this with her this past weekend. We had a couple people coming over for appointments for adoptions, and our dining room and kitchen needed to be cleaned up. But I literally would pick up something off the counter to put it away and would be so overwhelmed with everything else that needed to be done, like the sweeping, the mopping, the laundry, the dishes, that I was literally freezing. I would cry, pick something up, put it away, and then freeze again. So I called her to come over so that she could even just stand there. But she's such a good kid that she just helped me clean up those 2 rooms so that we were prepared for those adoptions. And the last and final piece is self-compassion. Personally, I'm still trying to figure this one out. I am my biggest critic. I'm hardest on myself, and I need to work on this one big time. The question to ask yourself is, did I still mess up? Absolutely. We're going to mess up every single day. But these tools will help keep us moving, even if it's inch by inch. I'm still learning, and we are definitely on this journey together. I want you to leave with this. Where are you blaming yourself for being lazy when it's really ADHD showing up? What's one small adjustment that you can make things easier with? Is it going to be a timer, a sticky note, or shorter list? And most of all, where can you give yourself compassion instead of criticism? Because you are not broken. You're not lazy. You don't just have your head in the clouds. And those impulsive choices, they definitely don't define you. They're part of the wiring, not your worth. You're living with a brain that plays by different rules, and you're doing your best in a world that doesn't always understand that. In conclusion, ADHD is messy. It's unpredictable, and it's so frustrating some days. But lazy? No, that's never been the truth. So if no one else has told you today, you are not lazy, you are not incapable, and you are not alone. That may not be conventional podcasting, but again, I will always be real, and real is what we're here for. Thanks for joining me for episode 3, When the Mask Falls. Until next time, keep breathing, keep showing up, and keep letting the mask fall.